Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Office Hours. I'm your host, Stuart Newsom, and today's topic is the evolution of RIS order entry automation in radiology, where we'll take a deep dive into how radiology providers have historically struggled with order entry inefficiencies and how to solve these challenges, and what the future holds for automation and AI-driven solutions in this space. So to help us unpack all this, I'm joined with Samir Sheth, who's a Senior Vice President of Client Services at Infinx. He's been very instrumental in working with radiology groups in particular to optimize their work operational efficiencies. So Samir, it's great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for having me over. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very excited to have you on here because I'm particularly excited to hear kind of your experience, how you've helped Infinix clients, particularly in some of the struggles and inefficiencies they have. So just really ready to dive right in. But first, before we get started, as always, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a Q&A session at the end. So please enter your questions into the Q&A box below. Feel free to drop them in there and also comments, not just questions, but we also welcome any comments as we hold these discussions. So with that, I'm just going to dive right into the questions, Samir. The first one is kind of going from a history, kind of a historical approach here. Radiology providers have long struggled with inefficiencies, particularly entry. It's a very laborious manual process with a lot of disconnects in the workflow. So based on your experience, what were the key challenges that radiology groups faced before Infinix started assisting them?
So, interestingly, I like the term that you used as part of this webinar, evolution. The order entry process has truly evolved over the period of last, I want to say 7, 8 years. I have been fortunate to have worked with some of the largest radiology imaging groups on behalf of Infinix. When we were first exposed to this particular process, it was, as you mentioned, highly labor intensive. There weren't truly any systems that could keep track of the orders coming in. While there have been, scenarios where a lot of orders come in electronically, whether we like it or not, there are a ton of orders that are still being faxed by providers. And this is very prominent in the radiology imaging space, where the providers will fax the orders which need to be entered into the radiology information system, or RIS, as we call it, in a timely manner so that a patient can be scheduled for the procedure. Now, you can imagine when a process is so labor intensive, any delays eventually cause delays in patient care. If an order is either missed or not entered into the RIS, it can cause delays in the patient care. So when we were brought in, at that time, as I mentioned, there was no specific system. The orders used to come in an email inbox, and then they would be distributed to operators to look into it. Now, these faxes that come in, they are a different type of faxes. I mean, do you have orders that are faxed by the providers? There are medical records that are being faxed. There are authorization approvals or denials that come in from the payers. And there's a small percentage of junk faxes that come in as well. Now, all of these faxes, they need to be sorted, classified, labeled to be able to get entered into the order, the RIS system. So the basic first step was how to classify it appropriately, label them in the right way, create the orders, and basically attach these documents to the patient records. So we started with the client system and gradually brought in our application that would help us in allocation of the work, because their old system did not allow us to track the volume of the orders coming in. tracking the inventory. How many faxes did we receive? Have all of them been allocated to different users to get them, processed? And did we complete them in a timely manner? So we brought in our internal system to make the existing process more efficient. And that's how we started from back when we got into the order entry process. Since then, over a period of years, the process has evolved with automation coming in this whole activity to make it further more efficient.
Nice, awesome. So definitely that's what we see as well. I mean, it's what you resonated with. And you're speaking, historically, you're kind of going back, a couple of years. We've been doing this for over a decade.
Yes,
This is still happening today, believe it or not. I know you're
absolutely.
aware of this, but it's still happening today. So given those challenges, what solutions have been implemented to help radiology providers, particularly imaging centers, improve order entry? Can you walk us through how workflows were streamlined even in a primarily manual environment?
Absolutely. So starting with, receiving the faxes, putting into the a document capture system where you can a make sure the or work is allocated to each individual user in a timely manner. B, uh, make sure there are steps to classify those faxes that have been received, split them because an order, a bunch of documents coming from a single provider's office could have records that could pertain to multiple patients as well. So making sure that these are split. If there are 2 or 3 patients covered within a set of faxes, they are appropriately entered into the RIS system. So the our document capture solution system that we created helped us in proper classification, labeling them in a timely manner, making sure all inventory was timely allocated to all the users. They were entered. We had a tight SLA, and we continue to have that an order needs to be entered, created within 2 hours. So we were been with our system, we have been able to meet our SLAs for years. We have rarely missed it in making sure that the orders are created in timely manner and patients are scheduled accordingly.
Wow, and that's amazing. Yeah, because SLAs are important. You have to measure, you have to set expectations and standards. Otherwise, how do you meet those expectations? Um,
And we
yep.
are not talking handful of faxes stored over here. We are talking for one customer, we get almost 25,000 faxes a day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For across the country. And for the other large customers, we get almost 15,000 faxes. So these are large volumes that we are talking of that need to
Wow.
be handled.
So with that volume, I mean, that's a huge undertaking to say the least, just for
Yes.
one client. So can you share a real world example where Infinix stepped in to help solve their order entry inefficiency and considering that big volume? So what was their biggest pain point? How did Infinix make a difference?
So of these large volume that I'm talking about, I'll give a breakup. 65% of these faxes that we receive are actual orders. Uh, about another 30% are other documents which are equally important. These are medical records being faxed in. This could be legal documents or authorization documents, which have to be linked to the patient records. And the remaining 5% are, I would say, junk faxes. So taking those 65% of the faxes that we receive, once they were allocated to all the different users, we started, you know, working them, making sure they were uh, documents were classified, they were labeled appropriately. All the fields that needed to be captured from the orders were captured in the RIS system, and the orders were created in the RIS so that their scheduling system could pick them up and get the patients called and scheduled for a procedure. So the biggest improvement or biggest benefit that we were able to drive to our customers was they were able to get to the patients to get them scheduled within the timeline or even earlier as against what they were doing before Infinix came on board.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so that's a big difference. I mean, that's a huge lift, even if predominantly in a manual environment. So, and likely when you were going through this process, there's an implementation process. And with every implementation comes, lessons learned. Even
Yes.
well, well-laid plans still can go haywire, if you will. So you have to be agile. So, what were some of the challenges that you faced in rolling out these solutions for our clients? What additional steps were taken to improve workflows, even beyond just ordering?
So I think the very first thing was we documented the whole process in detail to make sure we uh, understand what the process entailed from start to end, what are the key areas that were needed to be addressed, what were the key challenges, which of course was that there wasn't a system in place that could keep track of how many faxes were received, um, how many were, in orders were created within a day. Was there any backlog that trickled over to the next day? So we created or we documented all of these challenges, created our system, which could help us keep track of each and every step of the process. And that is primarily what helped us to ensure that we are able to address all of the challenges that the client had, but not only that, but bring in more efficiencies in the whole process. The idea was not just to address the challenges, but how to make the whole process more efficient so that we try and find areas of improvement and bring in the benefits to the clients. And as we evolved over a period of time, we started looking at how can we automate some of these processes because it does a labor intensive process doesn't need to be labor intensive throughout. There are areas of opportunities for automation. And with AI coming in, Infinix was there to jump directly into it to look at different areas. How can we automate that? So, for example, the classification process, the labeling process, identification of the fields that need to be captured, and capturing those processes using technology are the things that we have developed through our learnings and which is part of our new offering that we are launching, the IDC product.
Right, right. So, despite those improvements made, and you mentioned, automation and AI, um, I'm sure there's still some challenges that still persist that you could probably speak to, especially if automation and AI were to be introduced and they are being introduced. What specific gaps would you want to see, that particular solution solve?
So what we have seen, and as we kind of continue to evolve further, is, I mean, there is going to be certain human element that is always going to be there. AI will probably address to most of the challenges, but there would be certain human elements. But it's definitely going to help based on the human actions, have the machines learn from the human actions to further help automate the whole process. So the Infinix has always offered a complete turnkey solution to our clients, and we continue to do that. So with our uh, IDC coupled with our uh, the human piece, we are able to address to those challenges today, even for all of our imaging customers. So I think this is going to continue to evolve. Will we have 100% automation? Difficult to say,
Mhm.
but even if we are able to automate a large portion of it, that's going to help patient care tremendously.
Awesome. And I know kind of throw some technology in here in the middle. I am going to get to a question asking you about, the future, where do you see this going? but I know that technology has been in place and even made attempts. And anytime technology is introduced, that's all we know. That's as much as we know as this technology can help. We think, oh, this is the best until it evolves, right? That's the title of today's office hours. But I'm talking about particularly optical character recognition, OCR. That's one
Mhm.
technology that really took off. That was like, hey, this is going to solve the problem, because if we could just automate and scan and recognize, the patient's name, or anything on that form, and when it came in, hey, that's gonna help eliminate a lot of manual entry where someone's reading it, pulling it, copying or pasting it, at least with OCR, short for optical character recognition.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
with handwritten, there was ICR, which is intelligent character recognition, which there was a problem with, well, it can't read any handwriting, so they improved it a little bit, but still there were issues, there. It was
Absolutely.
more, it was really relying on structured data, right? I'll let you elaborate on that a little bit.
So OCR, I mean, interesting you bring up that topic. OCR has been around for several years. I mean, it's been, I have seen that in the 90s and
Yeah,
in
a couple of decades. Yeah.
it's been around. At one point of time, it was easier for a human to key the information as against use the OCR and then having to clean up that data. Because a lot of time the technology was capturing incorrect information. But
Mhm.
that technology has evolved tremendously. Today, with the AI, the whole capture recognition system has evolved a lot, where we are able to capture as accurate information as we would anticipate it would, whether it is typed, whether it is handwritten, it is being. And so making sure we are looking at the right different fields so the machine learns based on the documents processed by humans to know that if it is a particular document, then where that information is going to be captured from. So capturing information from the right field, capturing as accurate as possible. And that's definitely what has evolved tremendously. Today, we see a higher level of accuracy percentages than what we used to see back in those earlier years.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, so a lot of limitations to OCR, particularly that unstructured, like I said earlier, was really only for a certain set of forms. Well, if you threw something that was a different form, or you threw something that was, say, a driver's license, it,
Yes.
it may not recognize that. And so, to your point, the evolution again of the technology and what Infinix has adopted and developed in their Infinix document capture platform, or IDC, has
Hmm.
significantly made leaps and bounds. I
Absolutely.
just know that our chief product officer, Navneet Nair, has made comments that he's even astonished. We're able to do things now that we couldn't do 6 months ago. And who knows what we're going to be doing 6 months from now. That's how fast and rapid this technology has taken off. So seeing these significant advances in automation and AI-driven agents, which I'll allude to those agents in just a second after your answer, but we see that developing across all of healthcare. How do you envision AI-powered solutions transforming risk order entry and radiology workflows in the future? If you could look into the future, what would you think? What would you want that to look like?
I think, I mean, the biggest advantage or benefit that AI-powered solutions is going to drive is it's going to just improve the speed at which these orders can be processed. What it was taking a human, say, for example, 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes to process one order, AI is going to be able to double or make that speed 3x.
Mhm.
So you can now process an order much faster. It will reduce as much human intervention as possible. And I think the key part is going to be the integration. How well your automation solution is integrated with your radiology information system will make the whole process to ensure that your RIS has all the updated information pertaining to the order to ensure that the patient can be scheduled and the procedure can be performed.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, and you have to break it down because there's various tasks that are going on there. And I think when people talk about automation or AI, they really think of it as, one action that's happening. And it's really a lot of things going on. And you've even explained it earlier on when you were talking about, the historical significance of order entry from manual. Now we're entering to this digital delegation is what I like to call it. I'm going to
Yeah.
say the word a lot. I like to think I came up with that, but I don't know. I don't think so. But at any rate, it's you're really delegating it to imagine a crew. You have a crew of people who have a specific set of skills, and those skills, one may be able to work on a certain, insurance carrier, maybe Aetna. One may be working on United Healthcare, one on Cigna. They have that tribal knowledge. Well, now we're able to not only train through machine learning models, LLMs, as well as Gen AI. You still have OCR kind of in the mix, but now you're adding these agents, if you will. And each agent has a specific task to accomplish the larger task. And that larger task, as you put it, is to make sure this order gets in, right? And so it has to be entered accurately. So when we developed our IDC platform, we're basically taking it from where we have an agent that has the skill of figuring out and understanding and reasoning what type of document this is coming in via fax. So it says, okay, it can recognize that, hey, this is an order, this is a driver's license, this is a prior auth.
Yes.
And then it's able to extract that data, not just the way OCR does, because OCR has to recognize a field and a label, and then take that information and it knows this is where it's located in that field. But with this extraction AI agent, it actually understands and recognizes, hey, this is a patient's name. It doesn't matter where it is on the piece of paper. It can be even handwritten in many instances. This is a date field. It recognizes it just by looking at the actual text itself. And so then it extracts that data. Then you have another AI agent that's going to be automated order entry. Or you have an agent that even can determine, you know, a human agent needs to look at this. So I really see an orchestration of a crew where you have AI agents and human agents, if I can, say that, work together. So you can imagine that you have machines and humans working together to
Yes.
accomplish the same task. And because everything can't be automated, but you can make things a much, much easier. So I know I kind of went on a tangent there with that, but I don't know if you have any insights on my remarks.
No, and in fact, I'm glad you brought that up. Um, it Another benefit, the advantage that the automation brings in is today with your virtual agents, if you have a client who's gonna have, they have made some acquisition, their volumes are gonna grow by 10%, 15%. Now, typically in the previous world, it used to be where you have to hire people, train them,
Mhm.
ramp them up. Your virtual agents, now I want to add additional virtual agents. The system has already learned. So the ramp up process is faster. Getting, if you have people leaving and you have lost that domain knowledge, that big problem has been solved with the technology where now your system has the knowledge. Any changes in the workflow can be easily implemented, and your virtual agents are up and running as against having to train human agents on the revised workflow. So I think that's another big advantage that the imaging and radiology groups are going to see coming in.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a game changer. I mean, it already is. I mean, it's actually astonishing, and I'm looking forward to see what the developments in the futures will hold, for this. I think there's even, like conversational AI agents that will, I know they exist, but it's fine tuning them, but they'll definitely
Yeah.
can have a conversation with, say, a payer, uh, getting on the phone. This AI agent can get on the phone regarding, pushing prior authorization, for instance. It's just thinking about that, it sounds amazing, and have
Mhm.
an intelligent conversation. So, well, This has been a fantastic discussion, Samir. I really, thank you for sharing your insights. At this time, we're
Sure.
basically going to turn this over to our audience for any questions. Again, just to remind everyone, you can put your questions in the Q&A box below. And I'm just going to look and see if there's any questions there. There is one that it's it's a really good question, and it's a question that everyone should ask is, well, how do we get started? Particularly, what are the key factors that should evaluate that we should be evaluate? I think they meant to put we there. We should evaluate before transitioning from manual order entry to an AI powered workflow. And again, okay, based on your, how would you answer that?
Well, I think it's a great question, no doubt about it. If you have a manual workflow currently, it's important you look at, what are the different challenges you're faced with the manual workflow? How, efficiently have you been able to whether create those orders and get the patients scheduled? Any gaps over there, slightest of the gaps does call for looking at how can I bring in, you know, technology to help me improve it. Because end of the day, um, you know, leaving those gaps, which is resulting in any amount of delay in patient care is impacting your organization. So definitely look at that, making sure the orders are addressed timely, you're addressing all of the orders, getting them into your RIS, uh, absolutely key from a patient care perspective.
Right, right. And I would add there's a compliance component to this too, where just like with humans who are doing this manual work, there has to be some oversight, to the agents as well. You can't just let go and let them do it and then trust them because,
Yep.
any breaches in privacy, the provider's still held responsible. So just like, and if any vendors that you're doing business with, it's very important that you be sure that they follow the same HIPAA protocols. And you also, I would ask the question, okay, well, what machine learning models are you using? How many machine learning models are you using? Where is this information going to be stored? So there are many questions in evaluating it. That said, you also, with any project, you always want to start small and then grow into it to make sure you guarantee that success. All right. Well, I don't, oh, here's a question. Let me look at this one. It says, an AI agent be assigned to work a specific set of prior auths like Viscos for an ambulatory group? Um, I know I can answer that. I'd like to hear your take on it, Samir, but it's like, I'm going to say yes, absolutely. That's a very good question, but it goes to where you can actually train an AI agent to work a very specific and be a specialist, so to speak. I mean, we have this with humans, right? Who are working these. Not everyone can work every single payer. There's tribal knowledge that a lot of, RCM professionals have where they're, working certain prior auths, working certain denials, even beyond
Mhm.
order entry. So they just know how to do it better than anybody else. So certainly you can do it with AI agents. Absolutely.
And that's part of our patient access solution, Stuart, where we are, bringing in automation to work different kinds of authorizations. Today, it's not just radiology auths, but we've truly been working multiple specialties in the authorizations and using our technology to integrate with the payers and get the authorization process done.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I don't see any additional questions. Samir, again, thank you so much for coming on. This
Thank
was
you,
amazing.
Stuart, again. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, yes. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. As always, we love our audience and what you bring to the table matters here. So just want to be sure that you tune in next time for office hours next week, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.